California coastline, midday Texas sun, misty rain in the Smoky Mountains, out here on the run.
Welcome back, everyone. I know it's been a little while since I've done any kind of video, and if you've seen any of my other shorts or other little videos I've posted, those were all on my cell phone because I had a little mishap with my GoPro a couple weeks ago, and it was unfortunate. I actually ran it over with a brush hog while I was on the tractor. Limb had caught the thing, and just before I could even realize what had happened, it had already run it over, and I heard it go through the brush hog, and I'd found everything but the memory card. So I had some pretty good footage of using the tractor out here on the farm, doing a little brush hogging. But I was unfortunate enough to not have that footage. So that's no big deal. I ended up obviously getting another GoPro. So we're going to use this new one today, and I'm going to show you a little bit of what I've been doing. I actually had a little job last weekend. It was supposed to be a 2-day job and ended up getting cut a little bit short. The Wolverine brush cutter finally laid down on me again. We've been going pretty good with it, but about a week ago, actually it was before the last job, I had seen that there was some cracking in this area along this mounting plate for the main beams that go to the forward section of the brush hog. It's basically the strength in the deck and what ties everything together. So I had to do a little emergency repairing on those sections. I did a couple little short videos on that, but I just want to get in a little more detail with it now that I have my camera back. So we went ahead and tried it last weekend on the first day. It was supposed to be a 2-day job, and we ended up getting cut short the first 8 hours. I found out that just wasn't going to cut it. I was getting a lot of flex in this thing. Every time you pick it up, it wants to flex separately from the main quick connect section where it attaches to the machine. So under further inspection, when I had hit a bump, and when I hit the bump, I had felt something that wasn't right in the brush hog itself. I noticed that it was doing a little bit more movement than it had been previously. As far as flex in the deck, you know, from front to back, because obviously these things take a lot of abuse, and it's not an extremely heavy attachment, but it is heavy enough that there's a lot of weight out on that front section there, that it does flex enough that's the reason why these cracks occurred on these welds around this plate. I stopped and picked the brush hog up and saw underneath here there's an angle iron beam that runs clear across, and I had a little video with some pictures of that. I'd used my phone just to try and update people, because I like to keep people updated on this brush cutter. So I'm not trying to hold anything back or hide anything. Like I've said before, I'm not sponsored by them. Nobody's paying me to do this. I paid for this attachment. I've paid for this machine. This is all me out of my pocket with my business. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. So we had to do some work. We ended up doing a bunch of plating underneath here on the backside where these are welded. It was breaking loose from the top on the backside, and it was actually flexing so much that the blades were hitting back here on the bottom side. So I took care of that, plated all that up, welded it up, welded the main gusset supporting back in on the back side, welded it up even better than it was from the factory. And we ended up adding these 2x2 1/8 inch wall gussets. It was actually just something we had laying around the shop from the pulling truck. It's basically like a 2-inch receiver tube, more or less. And we took that, just what we had, and ran from the top here down to the midsection of the deck. We actually wanted to come down a little bit further to try and tie the front end a little better, but this was all we had on hand. If it ends up being not enough, I will come off the edges with another one down to this beam here. We actually contemplated on putting some 1/8 inch plate or 1/4 inch plate in here, whatever we had, to box that in as for a little bit more strength. But I went ahead and picked the machine up with the brush hog, and there's absolutely seems to be no flex at all in the deck like there was before. You could actually curl your machine in and out and watch it flex on the deck, and it does not have that anymore. So that is very good. That is something I was really, I paid attention a lot when obviously you're sitting in this machine for lots of hours, and you pay attention to things like that on what happens and what your machine and attachment's doing. And I did notice that, you know, it did have a lot of flex in it. So that actually helped tremendously. It's something I'd thought about doing before, but I didn't, mainly because it wasn't an issue really. It kind of helps you contour the ground a little bit when it's a little uneven, but in the long run, that is what happens if you don't. I know a lot of other brands, the nicer brands, they have more gusset plates from here down to the front. So again, that's probably just something you're going to get with a cheaper brand. And I understand that, you know, everything's got its own price tag, and, you know, materials aren't free. And obviously that's why we all love Made in the USA, because things like that don't normally happen. But when I started this business, I didn't really know how it was going to take off, or really if I was going to be needing it that much. And like I've said before, it's turned out to be one of the most used attachments that I have, and it's one of the main things that I do with the machine. So with that all being said, I want to show you guys what else cut my day short. I ended up having a front idler go bad on my skid steer, and I just caught it. I'd heard it squeaking once before, but it quit. And that day, about 2-3 hours in, it started squealing real bad, and there was no stopping it. I couldn't get it to quit, so I had a feeling that it was going out. A lot of this undercarriage had been replaced by the previous owner. Sprockets, rollers. This particular idler here has been replaced, and the opposite front idler has been replaced. I will need to probably replace this rear idler on the back over here probably this winter, as it's starting to get some pretty good wear spots on it. But as far as that, the sprockets and everything else look really great. The tracks are in pretty decent shape. So I went ahead and bit the bullet. I think, believe it or not, I got this thing off Amazon. It's a place called Allstate Ag Parts. I buy a lot of tractor parts. They sell a lot of old tractor parts, like for these old cases and David Browns that we use. But they're the ones that actually had this roller in stock, and it actually saved me some shipping by using my Amazon account versus buying from them directly, but it's still basically through them. But here you can see the old one, and you can kind of hear it rattling around in there. It just the bearing shot, but I do believe under investigation these have snap rings, and you can press this shaft apart from the outer area where the races and the bearings are held. These are an oil bath roller, So you should be able to rebuild these. I do not know if I can find a kit for it. I'm going to try to look online. I don't know if Case does offer anything like that or not, but I'm going to try to look online and try to find something where I can possibly rebuild this old one for a spare, because it's really not worn too bad. It's not too bad of shape. Just really want to have a spare. I mean, you never know when you might run into a situation where it'd be nice to have one. So I went ahead and pulled this plug out right here, and this is where it takes the gear oil. We just use whatever we use for tractors and brush hogs and stuff. There's probably a recommended weight and such, but in reality, it's going to be fine. So I went ahead and double checked that before I put this back in the yoke. It just slides in here. You put a bolt on each side. I'll put a little bit of Loctite on those just to keep them from backing out. And we're going to get this thing slapped back in there. All right, guys, we got this roller. Went ahead and put it back in the yoke. I need to go over here and double check on the other side and see which way this thing goes. I can't remember which way the yoke goes, whether it's upside down or not. So I'm going to go ahead and look at that and try to figure out which way that goes. Looks like it goes that way with this piece down. Short side down. So I'm going to walk over here and check that out, and I'll get back here. As you guys can see, I've got a pretty substantial amount of weight and pressure on that thing, and it does not move. So that is a plus on that. So we're going to get back to this. All right, guys, I went ahead and got this roller back in there. Got it all lined up back in there on the yoke with the ram cylinder for the track adjuster. I went ahead and cleaned this all out, blowed it out real good. As you can see, these things get packed in there, and I hate that because it's so hard to get in there to clean. But I did the best I could, and I think we're about ready to throw this track back on here. So stay with me. And I'm back. Sorry for that, guys. I didn't get to show you too much of putting this track back on. It's actually not really a one-person job. It's not easy by yourself trying to get the bar in there and get the track pop back on, excuse me, while trying to keep it on the roller and then trying to keep it off the ground enough to get those underneath and those rollers. But I was able to get it on, and I was able to get it by myself. So I'm going to grab the grease gun here. Thank God for power grease guns on something like this. I'm going to grab the grease gun, go ahead and get this track pumped back up and tightened up where it needs to be. Put the cover back on. Give it a quick grease all the way around. Check the fluids. and we should be finally ready to get back in action. That's probably going to do it. I might throw a little bit more video up here of doing some maintenance on this thing and getting it loaded up, but for the most part, I'm pretty well done. And I'm very tired and I'm sweaty. I'm so glad it's almost fall. Cannot wait. So I will get back with you guys this weekend. I'll catch you guys up on the big brush hogging job. We got 2 more days of some woods clearing for a customer, so that should be a good time. And I will check you guys out and like, subscribe, comment, you know, all that stuff. Thanks.